Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and this is going to be a keyword research demo. I'm going to use a tool called Keyword Chef. Please let me know in the chat if you could hear me. I think you probably can. I'm going to be testing that myself here. Hopefully we'll be able to hear it. And let me know where you're from. If you've attended one of these before, if you are not subscribed, it would be a great time to subscribe. And one of the cool things, I actually went to the Facebook group let's see, what is this one called? Affiliate Niche Builders. And that's the one that Ben Adler I guess, started and created, and then he created the Keyword Chef tool. So I went there to the Facebook group and I asked about different niches and areas and different, I guess, keywords that you wanted me to look deeper in. So I will sort of randomly select, I guess it won't be completely random, but I will select different keywords and I will go deeper and I'll use Keyword Chef to show you how I review them. Now, it's not going to be 100% random because I'm going to try and find niches and keywords that we can probably like learn the most from. There are some where like I don't think it's going to be as effective because number one, I don't know anything about the niche, but I will actually pick a couple of those so that you can see that sometimes even if you know how to do keyword research, it can be a little bit of a struggle. Now, typically, even if you run into like an issue coming up with keyword ideas or anything like that, you'll still be able to use a tool like Keyword Chef and then come up with some other ideas as well. So don't forget to let me know if you can hear me. Again, that'll be super helpful. It looks like I think we are live. I'm just going to double check here. And yeah, it sure does look like it. So yeah, let me know in the chat. I haven't seen anyone else talk in there, so that always makes me nervous that maybe it's not working for some reason, and these indeed are live. One thing I'll also point out is you can get 1,000 free credits with Keyword Chef using my link below. I'm an affiliate, so if you actually make a purchase at some point, I would get a commission. So I'm going to check the audio again. I can hear myself. So, okay. All right. Haziel, what's up? You say that you can hear me, so that's fantastic. Thanks for confirming. All right. And we see Mutuku and Food and More. Looking forward to this. All right. Thomas is here. Okay. Things are starting to flow, which always makes me feel, well, much, much better. So if you are not in that Facebook group, you can go check it out. Again, it's called Affiliate Niche Builders. I think you may have to fill out a little survey or something like that. Ben runs it over there. Everyone's really nice. One thing I need to point out is you can get all my free templates, all my systems and things that I use, including the Keyword Golden Ratio template over at my blog. It is called Niche Site Project. You would just click that green button and enter your name and email address, and then I'll send you all that good stuff. There's a lot of other resources and things there, including a frequently asked questions section where I think, today I may refer people, hey, go check out the FAQs, and that is right here. So check out the FAQs about affiliate marketing, and then you end up with a whole set of different questions, and generally, I would say most of the questions that are asked are covered here on this page. So it's a good resource, even things that you haven't thought of yourself. You may go over there and realize, oh, that'll be really good for me to check out. And we see Last Bath, Thomas, and David, our moderator, is on as well. So since people actually submitted keywords over in that Facebook group before, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So this is Keyword Chef, and one of the great things with Keyword Chef is it's very straightforward to use. You don't need to set up a ton of filters or anything like that. Typically, you can just hop on, put in a couple broad keywords that you're aiming for, and then you'll be in good shape. Now, I do see a lot more people are hopping on right now, so that's great. I'm gonna pause just for a second and scroll down. You can see some of the, I guess, some of the pros. Keyword Chef it was really like something that Ben was, developing on his own, as far as like the specific recipes, he calls them, to tie in with the chef branding, recipes for how he liked to filter for keywords. So he puts that together behind the scenes. So you would just type in whatever main keyword you're looking for, and then it'll spit out the filtered distilled list, so that you don't end up with 8,000 keywords and then you're not sure which ones are good because there's so many there. So as people are hopping on, I'm just going to pause and ad lib for a second and actually thank a sponsor, which is Ezoic. They have a tool called Leap, and that tool actually helps your site load faster, helps you get green in the core web vitals, and it's actually a free tool if you're monetizing with Ezoic. And the good news is Ezoic doesn't have any sort of page view limits anymore. You can sign up, go through some, I guess it's sort of like courses, but you can go through some educational material that helps you understand how to use the tools and Ezoic in general, and some other great tips. And then you're able to enroll and use Ezoic even if you don't really have any traffic on your site yet. So no page view limits. There's a link in the description. Thanks to Ezoic for sponsoring. And I think we can go ahead and jump in now. So I'll start sharing my screen. And whoa, that is not what I meant to do. Let's go back over here and we can start hunting for some keywords. So thanks again for the people that submitted keywords. I do appreciate it. Hopefully they will be on. And I'm going to hop directly into muscle building and strength training. That was submitted by James. So James, let me know in the chat if you're on. I hope people actually showed up. So I will just put in strength training and see what we come up with here. And wildcard requires an asterisk. Okay. Oh, let's do questions for this one. So we have a lot of these, different things that pop up, and we're just going to say get keywords. I'm not going to ignore anything here. I'm just going to pull them all in and see what kind of strength training questions we have. So fairly straightforward. I mean, again, that's one of the great pros of Keyword Chef. We have the average search volume monthly, and then we have the high and then the low. So one thing that we see here, what is functional strength training? That's a pretty high average, but what does this tell us right here? So we see that the high monthly is 12,000 and then the low is 260. So that means this is a very seasonal kind of keyword. People are probably looking for this in the January timeframe when you come out of the holidays and everyone gets a gym membership. They're trying to figure out how to get in shape. That's my hunch. There could be some other, cyclical times, but that's my hunch. And it's probably lowest just before that, when everyone's busy shopping and going to holiday parties somewhere between November and December. So that's a pretty high search volume. We'll see some other stuff. Is yoga strength training? Does strength training burn fat? Is Pilates strength training? So the idea here, obviously, is these are all questions, right? These are all questions, and it's perfect to start a site with all these questions, these informational pieces of content. And these are actually like fairly long phrases in general, and they still get a pretty hefty search volume. So we have 536 questions right here. And I would say, James over there, hopefully you're watching this, and basically you can export these, right? You can export them to a CSV. You could filter them in some other ways, but you could export them to a CSV, sort through them. There will be some that are super similar, and I would say out of the 536, even if only 25% of them are usable, you still end up with a really, large number of question keywords. And I'm throwing out 3/4 of them just as a broad assumption. It may be a much higher usable rate than that. My guess is it probably is a higher usable rate, but just to be very conservative, we can say, yeah, we're going to get like 125, 150 keywords, which, trust me, that will keep you very busy. Even if you have a large budget and you're able to hire a content agency to do this writing for you, that's going to keep you busy for a while. If you put it in an order for 125 articles or 150 articles that are, say, 1,000 to 1,500 words a piece, it's going to take you a little while to have those written, even if you outsource it 100% and money is no object. So one thing you can do as well is sort of filter by keywords. So if you click on keywords, and let's say you wanted to focus on, for example, things that are related to resistance. So maybe you have a little, actually that's a bad one. So we'll say cardio. So we'll click on cardio, and that'll show me all of the keywords that have some relationship to cardio. Now, we're starting to see a lot of them are like zero search volumes, and some of them are super related. So that's where, it's helpful to take a look at the SERPs, and actually Keyword Chef does this sort of thing for you. So you can say, get all the SERPs, and that'll take a second to pull in that info. And so it tells me here, your SERPs are being processed. Once finished, you can view this, view your report under my reports to see the update. It could take a few minutes for large reports. So let's go to the report and see if it finished up. I actually don't know how long it'll take. So it's still running right now. And when it pulls the SERPs, like that shows us the search engine results page, and there will be some groupings and some Serp scores that will help us understand what's going on. And the thing is, while this is calculating, I'll actually pop back over here. So if you have a couple keywords that you think are pretty similar, like what are the benefits of strength training, and does strength training have benefits? So that's pretty much the same question. It's the same type of user that is searching for an answer. So the way I like to think about it, when you take off your SEO tinfoil hat and you think about the end user and you think about the content, you may want to say, will this end piece of content, will the content that I publish, will it serve both of those searchers and answer their question? And in the case that I just gave, yes, it's literally the same question. It's the same kind of person asking that question. So you would be able to sort of combine those together and just choose one of the keywords, perhaps whatever the most common way to phrase it, the most natural way to phrase it, use that one. And that's a pretty good way to approach it, just in general. And you would Google the term if you're unsure, right? You're unsure, you can Google each of the terms, like 2 or more. You may find 10 of these. You could Google the terms and then see what the SERPs are. If they're really similar, maybe just in a different order, then you can see that Google is pretty much treating those the same. Fairly straightforward. And it may be obvious in the example that I gave just now, but maybe there's some vocabulary, there's some synonyms where they're completely interchangeable words or phrases, and it sounds different, but they actually mean the same thing. So those are areas where it's really helpful to Google the term and see what pops up. All right. Keith asks, this is a great question here. Keith says, anyone know how the search volume metrics are calculated or sourced from? So I have tried to ask that question, and it's pretty hard to get a straight answer. I can't remember when I asked Ben. I think there are some APIs that can be accessed, and typically those are like sourced from third parties, and I don't know. There used to be a company that created extensions on Chrome, like tons of different extensions, and they were actually like violating our privacy and scraping the searches that we were doing, and then selling those to marketing companies. And then that company got busted. I can't remember the name of the company, but there used to be a company where most of the keyword research tools would buy huge blocks of data, huge chunks of data, and then use it as the input. So I'm not sure where this data comes from. It may be from one of the other providers out there. So sorry if I didn't say hello to you. If you hopped on recently, I'm not going to go all the way up. I see Dan, Marcus, Wahid, and Phil. Phil says, what about the KGR? Can you be more specific? What about the keyword golden ratio? Do you have any questions about it? So let's pop back and see if the report is all done. So it tells us here that the Serp report is updated. So I'll click to refresh. And then it'll take a second to load here. And we have a Serp score. And if I hover over any one of these individual keywords, if I hover over the row, it'll show me the Serp. And this Serp score represents the number of results that are typically easy to outrank. So a lot of times these are forums, these are Reddit, which is similar, Q&A sites like Quora. Some of these are better optimized than others, and some of them are just really poorly optimized, and it's an internet forum and there's all sorts of chatter and not optimized at all. So the ones with a higher Serp score, they're green, and the ones with lower, they have fewer of those kinds of results. And it's really easy to see here because we have this pop-up, and then we can see community.myfitnesspal is a number of the results. So the question is, why doesn't MyFitnessPal count calories for strength training? And there's a few different results that meet that criteria, things that are easy to outrank. So we have 3 results from MyFitnessPal in their forum. We have 1 from Reddit and 1 from Quora. So basically, we're able to see that these are probably going to be easier to rank for. And then as you look down, you can see, oh, there's fewer of those kinds of results in the top 10. So that's, it makes it very usable, and you can go and sort of prioritize the easiest ranking based on this specific criteria. Phil was asking about the keyword golden ratio, and that is another way to see if there's very low competition for a specific keyword. And there's tons of videos about the keyword golden ratio out there. In some of these cases, right, we see the search volume is registering as 0 for a lot of these. So it's just very low search volume. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go after it and try to rank for those. It just means it's a low search volume when you average it out. So this is just looking at questions, and I think James probably has plenty of ideas out there, and it looks like James wasn't on here, so it's too bad that he missed out. But he could always watch the replay later. So let's look for some others. So we'll go back to Discover here, and I see Peter mentioned indoor gardening. So I'm going to type in indoor gardening. And then again, I'm going to go for how to, and see if we end up with something as promising. So only 7 credits, but let's go ahead and pop. Actually, all of them are listed right here. All right, let's check it out. How to start indoor gardening, how to indoor gardening, and basically these are all the same. So yeah, how to get into it, beginner oriented, handful of keywords. So not that many here, and that's okay. So I think this would represent like 1 keyword that you can go after. But what we can do here is, let's see what's under actions. So we have how to here. So let's change it up, and we'll do questions. Yeah, questions was so good before. Indoor gardening. And sometimes, you don't necessarily run into a complete dead end, but you don't find very many promising keywords in the specific area that we're looking. And the thing is, because we're doing this live, the struggle of me not finding keywords is helpful for you to see, but it's not helpful for you to see just the continuing struggle. So we'll move quickly into another area that may be more promising. So we see a handful more. So we have 17 more here, and we see what is indoor gardening. Is indoor gardening cost effective? What are the best grow lights? Is indoor gardening the future of farming? Is it healthy? What plants are best? So we end up with actually a handful more that are completely viable. These would be fine keywords to go after. These are good topics. Even though it's a low search volume listed as 0 here, it's still pretty good. So we'll go ahead and get the SERPs here to see what the competition might look like. All right, so we have an unrelated question, but one that's sort of close to my area of interest. So we have a couple things going on. So below average blogger says keyword chef is legit. It's your go-to. And Anna says, is it okay if Core Web Vitals are green, but the fully total load time in GTmetrix is 15 seconds? I would say absolutely not. 15 seconds is a really long fucking amount of time. That is really bad. So I would figure out what the problem is and try and fix it. And this is one of those things with the Core Web Vitals. So for people that are aware of the channel, and you've seen a lot of my other videos, I was struggling with Core Web Vitals for Niche Site Project. The site actually loads really fast, usually in like half a second or less. That's very fast. However, there were several URLs on the site, a couple dozen, that had issues. They had Core Web Vitals for the specific pages of red, which was just, it's complete BS. It loads very quickly, and it loads in like half a second still, but it was showing up as a Core Web Vitals of like yellow and red, depending on the specific URL. So I believe there's some issue, because technically, right, if your site's loading in 15 seconds, there's no way it should be green for Core Web Vitals. But for whatever reason, the way that it's being checked with Core Web Vitals is giving you like this false positive. So I would say no, from a user, like from a Core Web Vitals perspective. If you are showing green, then yes, you pass Core Web Vitals. However, from a user experience perspective, if you know your site is loading slow, and you could test this really easy, right? You could use tools like GTmetrix. You can also hop on your phone, use a data signal, go outside, go walk around, have a slow signal, load your site on your phone, and see how fast it loads. If you can tell that it's struggling to load on a bad data signal, then there's probably an issue there. So anyway, I don't think Core Web Vitals are bulletproof. They can give us an idea, and I actually jumped through some hoops to get my Core Web Vitals to improve, and now my site loads even faster, which is not a bad thing. Keith mentions that he loves the Keyword Chef tool, which is great. So let's hop back over here. And Grant, a lot of thumbs up for Keyword Chef. Hassan says, I'd be devastated if you still don't recognize me. Okay. Passive Profit says, Keyword Chef is a fast way to find user-generated content in the top 10. Let's see here. Okay, and Jenny says, I'm brand new to Keyword Chef. Are there features in Keyword Chef that are only found in this tool, or features that are easier to use as compared to Ahrefs or SEMrush? So, great question. There, as far as I know, the way that Ben is using this Serp score, that's the, I think this is the easiest way to get to that. In the other tools, you can see the Serps. So in Ahrefs and SEMrush, you can see the Serps. The thing is, it's sort of like comparing like an all-in-one tool versus a very specific tool. So SEMrush and Ahrefs are really like full suite marketing analytics tools, and you get a lot of other information. For pure keyword research, for this kind of keyword research, Keyword Chef does a really good job just making it easy to find the information that you're looking for. If you use a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, there's a lot of other information and you'll have to set up the filters yourself. It is, frankly, really easy to set up those filters once you have an idea what you're looking for. That's typically what I've done in the past. Keyword Chef does all that stuff already, so you just type in indoor gardening questions and then you end up with sort of a distilled list in a lot of ways. So the other thing I'll mention now is Keyword Chef does have the 1,000 free credits if you sign up using my affiliate link in the description there. Eventually, if you ever sign up and pay some money, I'd get a commission, which I definitely appreciate. So here we see sort of a contrast, and we're hopping back to the indoor gardening questions. I just pulled the SERP reports here, so we can see there's not nearly as many keywords that have those easier to rank areas. And those, again, are forum types and other like user-generated content. Pinterest is listed here, which potentially, depending on what's in the SERPs, that could be easy to outrank. I mean, here in this specific case, Pinterest is ranking 7 and 8. And I would say if you found a SERP and everything was Pinterest, that would kind of indicate to me that the results, the searcher is actually looking for a Pinterest type result. Now, one thing we notice here when you pull the SERPs is there's this little section here. It says two related. So what is indoor gardening called? And there's two other related keyword phrases. So you could potentially group those together, or it could represent a potential silo or keyword cluster. Content cluster, that is. I keep saying keyword everywhere. All right, so there's some others, right? So what do you need for indoor gardening? So when I open that, we see a lot of these related keywords, and what's happening here? Why do we see that? So for these 10 or 11 keywords here, there are very similar SERPs. And you can see here, there's an 80% match, 60%, 50% match. So with Keyword Chef, all of the SERPs are pulled down. I don't know if that's the right word. They're reviewed, right? And then they're compared to each other. And if there's a lot of similarity, then potentially it's sort of the same user searcher intent. So what do you need for indoor gardening versus what do you need? They list the first one twice. Okay. So what do you need for indoor gardening? Indoor gardening how-to, how to get into indoor gardening, how-to indoor gardening, and so on. So these are very similar. You get the search volume listed in here too. So you can see, some of them are about 90, some are 40, and some are 0, but you potentially, as it makes sense, group those together into a cluster, or you can sort of push all the content into one piece of content because the user intent is so close. So, what do you need for indoor gardening versus how to do indoor gardening might be a little bit different. One is more equipment focused and the other one is not. So even if we only ended up with 24 keywords here, there's probably a lot of others that we can find in this niche, even though we've only looked at sort of a subset here. So Let's find another one over in the Facebook group. And Jeffiter, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, is asking about solar energy, outdoor solar power, and portable solar generators, which seems like a pretty cool one to check out. So I'll put in solar, let's see. I'll put in wildcard and then solar. I'll put in solar power and see what happens. So I put in the wild card, and those are broad topics, and we'll see what happens. Thanks again for everyone for hopping on here. Keyword Chef does have, let's see, Keyword Chef, we'll do exact match and similar. We'll get those keywords. So Keyword Chef does have a sort of pay-as-you-go plan. So it's not monthly. You pay for the number of credits you want to use, and then you go from there. So we have a lot of different ones here. Very broad solar power generator. And let's see. So let's do this. Let's filter it a bit because it's really a lot of keywords to go after. So I'll click on keywords. And let's focus on a solar, like the solar generators. So here we have solar powered generator, home solar power generator. And okay, so that it gives us a handful here. There are 19. I don't see any here that I super love. There's the best solar power generator. I always do like affiliate kind of products. You know, I'm usually thinking of that when we're looking at products and stuff like that. Here's solar power with diesel generator backup. So I'm sort of curious if I clicked on the Serp there, so it'll just pull it for that one. And we see a lot of results here. We can sort of make a determination. And from here, you could actually click these and it would open up in another tab. And then you can review the actual result. So let's filter some different things. We'll look for panels. We'll get rid of generator and just look at panels. How many solar panels to power a house, power bank with solar panel, how many solar panels to power a refrigerator. And now we're getting into some great informational kind of topics. So one thing I'll do, volume and Serp, So what I want to do here is actually look for solar power, but just the questions. So this is, I think, sort of a newer change in the tool. Like, I think previously you would just get all of this data together and you didn't have to select, which in my opinion was much easier. I think there was some technical limitation and reason for changing this, but I'd rather just get the whole shitload of keywords right away and then filter it afterwards. But here you have to actually like search for them separately. So I just, used 800 credits before to get all those other keywords, which I was like, those are kind of shitty. But now we'll just go for questions. And these are great for informational, so it'll take a second to get these. Hassan mentions that he believes there should be a $10 plan. And Solomon says, what shall we do if no plan like $10? So you can get the 1,000 free credits and then use those. That's 1,000 keywords. So you can use the free credits. And I think pricing is it's a tough thing to figure out. And I think there's other companies, right, that have different payment structures. So if you prefer to pay monthly, then, you can check out one of those other tools. I think I honestly don't know the different blocks that you could buy in, but that is one of the issues, right? I know at one point in chatting with Ben, I was like, like you don't have to pay a monthly fee, but you may have to cough up more money ahead of time. So I can't give any specific advice. If you don't have, if you are unable to pay for the bigger plan, then I guess you would either have to save up or just use the 1,000 free credits. So, in Task Sauce says the 1,000 free credits can only last for 1 to 2 searches. I think it depends on how you're doing your searches, but you could use them up quickly. And Tiles says, if I want to search for 500 keywords in one day, I can't. That's the problem. Okay, that's those are all fair. If you don't have the budget to use a keyword tool, you are definitely in a sort of handicapped with the ability to find keywords. So I often give people the advice to, save up. Maybe you pick up some freelance gigs to be able to do this. And the other thing, right? So let's look at it slightly differently. Let's say you do some freelance work and you do keyword research for people, and then you get paid. So maybe you go to Upwork or you go to Fiverr and you say, hey, I can do, you set up a gig, you can do keyword research for someone. You could charge them, I don't know, $2 per keyword or something like that. Tell them that you'll get them, say, 50 keywords. So that's $100. Maybe you get a couple of those clients, and then you end up with a few $100s that you can then use to buy a plan in Keyword Chef. And then you'll be able to use the credits that you need to get the keywords for the gigs, and then you can use the remainder for your own keyword research. So you may have to do some freelance work to earn the money to be able to invest in the tools that you need for your site. Or, you can forego the tools initially, but sometimes you do have to think outside of the normal realm and think, okay, I need to earn some money so that I can invest in the tools that I want to use. Okay. And there's other suggestions about pricing, and I encourage you, if you have suggestions for pricing and how people should run their tools and make them available to people, feel free to shoot Ben an email. He's very available. He's over on Facebook all the time. Okay, so I see Graham is asking a question, so I'll come back to that in just a second here, since we have all these solar keyword questions. And honestly, the one Tasso says you used all your 1,000 free credits in 1 to 2 searches. And if you look at the previous demos that I've done with Keyword Chef, I literally found like 150 keywords with just a handful of searches, and it literally would keep you busy for months. Again, even if you had like an unlimited budget for writers, it would still take you a few months to actually get the content written. So if you've used up all your 1,000 keywords in 1 to 2 searches, you might want to throttle it down and just do it slower. That's part of the reason, we're doing this demo. So we did solar power questions, and now I think we're going to find a lot of these that are completely viable. Again, if 25% of these are usable, you're going to end up with over 100 keywords to use. So let's filter a little bit and look at, I don't know anything about solar power, so this is a little harder. Okay, so we'll look at plants. How do solar power plants work? What's the largest solar power plant in the world? How much do they cost? How many are in the US? Where is the largest one? Do they kill birds? How long do they last? Do they make money? Do they work at night? How expensive? How is it bad? So tons of keywords here. Tons of keywords here. Okay. And Solomon says, what is KD, the keyword difficulty on this tool? Please, I need to know so that I may know where to fall onto. Okay. So number one, there's no keyword difficulty listed on this tool. So that's only in other tools. So there's a tool called KW Finder that has a keyword difficulty. Ahrefs has a keyword difficulty. SEMrush does. The closest mechanism here is where you get the SERPs, and then it'll take a minute to do this, but then you can see the number of SERPs. The number of SERPs for this set of keywords that have what Ben believes are easy to outrank results. And those end up being the user-generated content. One other tip, because I may not be thoroughly explaining everything, is you can always go to the Learning Center right here. And then Ben has created a very good help section, very straightforward. It's not filled with a lot of narrative or anything. It just gets to the point. So understanding the Serp Score explains the whole thing here, and it's very short, and there's a short video here to help explain it. And you could look at the information about finding keywords and why didn't I find keywords and just generally how to use it. So very good documentation here. So it's still running, and in the meantime, I'm going to hop over here, and Graham has this question here. How do you deal with keyword overload? I feel overwhelmed when I can't decide what to write about. So it's generally helpful to prioritize. So if you're able to prioritize in a specific way based on what you're trying to do, then you won't feel as overwhelmed. And it sounds like maybe you're finding a lot of keywords, and then maybe you have a lot of keywords that then you feel like they're pretty good and you want to go after them. So if you're in a situation where you have a lot of keywords, you may need to narrow it down and just say, okay, I'm going to focus on these keywords that are in this cluster in this specific area. And that'll allow you to just say, okay, I can't do everything at once. These other clusters that are unrelated, I can get to them later. But right now, we're just going to focus on these question-related solar power keywords, and those are the ones that you're going to go after. Just the question-related. And then you may still have 200 of those, right? This list that I'm looking at here, there's 487. Let's say half of them are similar to others, or you're going to throw them out for some reason. So you still have 200 keywords just to be conservative. So how do you sort those? Well, you may want to narrow it down again. Maybe it's only the keywords that are related to the power generation of the power plants, for example. Now, I'm not sure because I don't know much about this niche or anything like that. Or, right, so I have some friends, they're very into DIY projects. So they're going to not hire a company to put solar power on their house. They're going to put solar panels themselves. They're going to wire the actual control panel, and they're going to wire it into their electrical system. They're pretty smart. They know what they're doing. So they're putting all these plans together. So maybe you think, I'm just going to put together content. I'm just going to write content, publish content related to DIY solar for households. And you're only going to publish content related to that, which could be, right? So if you step back and think about it, those could be related to products. Those could be specific products that you need to build such a system. They can be the how-to, like how do you calculate how many solar panels you need? How do you determine the size of the breaker panel that you need? It could be informational around just dealing with the regulations and the permits that you might need to get to do this. So if you can focus on different areas depending on what you want to do. If you just want to focus on portable solar solutions so people can use them if the power goes out and it's just enough to power their phone and maybe their laptop and some other small electronics, or maybe you want to focus on the small products that people use while they're camping or out backpacking, or maybe putting on RVs and putting all that stuff together. Again, I don't even know anything about this, so I'm just making these sort of things up on the fly. So when you're not sure, you basically, Graham, you narrow it down. You figure out a way to narrow it down. It may take a little while to figure it out exactly in the right way that you want to approach it, but you can narrow it down so that you're dealing with a much smaller amount of information. And that is how we do any big project. You have to look at smaller pieces and then divide it down into another smaller piece until you end up with like a manageable size of work to do, something that isn't overwhelming. So that'll be different for everyone, and it's just up to you to divide up that work, prioritize in a way that makes sense to you. So I need to let my voice rest here for a moment. So I'm going to roll an ad from one of our sponsors, which I'll need to pull up here, and I'll be right back after this message. Word from ODYS, and here's something cool. You can save 30% on all the domains that you want to buy. That is good through the end of August. So depending on when you check this out, it may or may not have been passed, but right now it is August. So you can save 30%. And if you join using my link, then you can get $100 into your account, which I greatly appreciate. So you can check out ODYS, and that is a place where you can get age domains. I say it's the source for age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks. The featured domain for today is called My Growing Home. This is going to give you quite a platform. It was a mom blog, so she covered all sorts of things, and we're going to take a look at the Wayback Machine here in a second, but she covered sewing, photography, home design, event planning, and that sort of thing. This site was created in 2011, so it's 10 years old. The domain rating is currently 12. It was as high as 30 in the past, and the domain authority is 30. It's a pretty brandable domain name. Depending on some of the keywords that you may go after, it might apply, but My Growing Home gives you a pretty broad brand to build upon. Like I said, this is it was a mom blog. So when you take a look at the Wayback Machine, you see this nice lady with her two kids. It looks really nice, and I wonder, I bet the kids are all grown up now because it's been 10 years. And there's quite a few different entries over on the Wayback Machine all the way through, I would say, like 2017 or so. So you can have a look and check out some of the old content. And like I said, it was just a mom blog back then and tons of topics. And if you're not in the mom blog reading demographic, as I am not myself, there are DIY projects, kid art projects, celebrations, recipes, favorite products, and that kind of encompasses, well, damn near anything you want to include on the site. When I take a look over at Ahrefs, as I mentioned before, the domain rating is 12. There are 258 referring domains currently, and there are 229 of those are do follow. There are something like 3,600 do follow backlinks total, but of course those just come from the 229 9 different domains. When I think about some of the things that you could do with this site, I mean, again, there's so many different products that you can cover. And since it was sort of craft oriented and there's kids projects and stuff like that, it kind of lends itself for those affiliate reviews, number one, because perhaps you have sewing machines. There was a mention of photography. There's some other things where there are high dollar products and a lot of different products and accessories to go along with both sewing and photography. So it gives you a pretty broad scope. Plus, there are many little gadgets and things that you might need for other craft kind of projects. That said, it's also DIY and how-to. So maybe someone already has the equipment they need, but you're showing them what to do. So those are informational posts, which would be perfect for ads. There was a whole section for recipes, which again, ads are going to be perfect for that. There are, several other ways you could refer people to courses and all that kind of stuff. There are Skillshare classes, other custom courses or individual courses put out by individual creators. So you could check those out as well. Again, you can save 30% on your domains at ODYS during the month of August. So definitely check it out. If you join with my affiliate link and you make a purchase, I might earn a commission. But the thing is, you get $100 into your account. So it's a win-win situation. Thanks to ODYS. Really appreciate their backing and support for these shows. And we are back. So we're going to be wrapping up here. Any other questions out there? I think I actually got to most of them. We do have Mookshwar says, oh, that is not the right. Says, I remember last year I started my first affiliate site in 2019. And now in 2021, I started my biggest site and you say it went good. Can you share actual traffic or revenue or anything like that? That would be helpful and inspiring for some of the other folks. So let's hit maybe a couple more of these keywords. Someone also mentioned solar energy, and I'm going to go back up to keywords. And actually, I'm going to go to discover and I'm going to say, we're looking for best type keywords, and I'll just put in solar and see what we come up with. So 559 credits. We have a lot of different areas. So we'll ignore certain ones of these just because actually, I don't even know how I would want to ignore some of these. Actually, I'll get rid of companies and watches. Not too interested in those. So just getting rid of a couple. So I'll say get keywords. All right. And Mook says that his site that he started in 2019 made 1,900 last month. Great. Good job. So we started it just a couple years ago. So now we're over on best and solar. So these are all the best type keywords for solar, and these probably will represent the best keywords for affiliate reviews. So we see tons of very viable keywords and fairly high search volumes. I mean, basically, and this is my point to whoever earlier was saying, hey, I need more keyword credits. 1,000 is not enough. I mean, with this, I just put in solar and the best, and there's probably, it looks like all of these are viable keywords. Some of these are pretty high search volumes, but you end up with best solar battery, best solar lights for garden, and best solar charger, best path lights. Some of these are kind of similar. Best solar pool cover. So there's so many here. Best water heater, panels for camping, charger for phone. And the thing is, for each one of these, you probably can find a lot of other long tail keywords associated with it. there's so many keywords. Like, I don't think you need a whole huge number of credits. Sure, you could blow through them as you're doing your initial keyword research, but you probably don't have to pay for those on an ongoing basis or anything like that. So, best solar bird bath fountain, right? 390 searches per month. There's so many. There's so many in this solar space. So I think, I mean, as I'm looking at these, I'm just kind of floored at the number. So one thing you can do to narrow it down, back to Graham's point before. So maybe you want to look at all the ones related to RVs. So best solar panels for RVs, solar kit for an RV, for battery charging. So a lot of these are related, but we have best RV fridge for solar power, maintainer. There's some things I don't know about. So solar trickle charger for RV battery and so on. Best way to mount solar panels on an RV roof. There's so many keywords related to this, and you could narrow it down. So another way to look at it, like let's say you had an RV site and you thought, well, I wonder if there's anything related to solar. So you can go and do the research that way. Additionally, I mean, you could flip it over and you can get other ideas. So now let's just look at the maybe pool related ones. So here now we have all of the keywords related to pools that have solar in it. Or, right, we can do this a million different ways, right? Now we can look at solar inverters. Maybe not as many there. I saw another one that may be good. Motion. So solar powered motion security light. So maybe not as many here, but we have a lot of different options. So I'll remind you again, you can get 1,000 free credits using the link in the description there. If you are looking for some of the templates that I use, including like content templates, let's say you found the keywords, you can head over to my blog at Niche Site Project here, which let's get back to the homepage. You can go to Niche Site Project and sign up for the email list, and I send you all my systems and templates and point you in the direction of some of the tools. I actually let you know. I send you like 2 or 3 emails a week, and I let you know when I'm going to go live just in general. So you get to sort of stay aware. I have a podcast as well. It's called The Doug Show. You could check that out. Talk about the same sort of things, and it's not nearly as distracting as YouTube is. All right, so a couple more things in the comments here. I'll go through and let me know if you have any questions as we're finishing up. I do need to head out here shortly. Mook says you started in a very micro area and the site makes 450 consistently. Amit asks, what camera do I use for the YouTube videos? I'm using a Canon RP with a Sigma 18 to 35 1.8, and it's a great sort of package. It does 4K, this RP, and I have been shooting 4K, but I have to switch it over to manual because the autofocus on 4K on the Canon RP is not as good as the 1080p. So in 1080p, it's fantastic. But the big thing is using the lens that I have. Anything with the fast aperture is going to look much, much better. And lighting. You got to have good lighting. I have a couple lights around here, but with a 1.8 lens, you don't need that nearly as much. I'm down in the basement, and then I've slowly worked on the set back there, just in general. But yeah, and then I used to shoot on this Canon T7i here. So the T7i is just fine, and it doesn't do 4K, but it did a really good job. Okay. All right. And Tassos says, my thing is that the credits is not enough, but if you want to check multiple seed keywords for different sites and do proper keyword research for hours, it will be hard. That's my point. And that's the thing, you if you want to use the tools, they cost money to run, and there's no way around that. If you can do your keyword research without using any tools, then more power to you. I mean, you can use Google autocomplete and stuff like that, but these tools cost money to create. I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of hours that Ben has put into the tool. Now it costs money to run the tool. It runs on a server somewhere, and that is not free. There's all these, hundreds of calls. As many people are using the tool, it is using a lot of bandwidth and processor power. So it's not free to use the tools. And I feel your pain. It's not necessarily cheap, and I started right there with you, trying to do everything as cheaply as possible. All right. Solomon says, when I use keyword tools like Ahrefs and it shows me the KD, I avoid the high KD keywords. What about this? How will I know the best? Because I see it as easy to use. So you're saying, how about avoiding the high KD keywords? Sure, that's a fine approach. I know some people go for the low keyword difficulty scores. I don't like the Ahrefs KD value as much. I much prefer the KW finder for that kind of keyword research. But I mean, I don't care which tool you use. The things I usually teach are fairly agnostic towards tools. And again, I can't emphasize enough. It doesn't matter to me which tool you use. So I'm an affiliate for a couple of them, like Keyword Chef and KW Finder, but I also use Ahrefs and SEMrush and other tools that are useful. So if you want to use a different tool, that's 100% fine. If you want to avoid the high KD numbers, you could do that. It is 100% fine. You said, how will I know that that is the best? Well, that's the thing with life. You will never know. You'll never know because you could only choose one way, like at that point in time. You can test things, right? You can maybe you could avoid the high KD numbers if you want to, but you can't go back and not avoid them at that point in time. And if you were to do the same thing again on the same site, well, you're starting at a different point in time. We're talking specifically about websites, but like I said, that's how life is too. You never know. You can make the decision now and maybe you can test some things, but you just have to move forward, make a decision and move forward. Like second guessing yourself constantly is not going to be very helpful. Mook says, actually, here's a great example. Mook says, I'm an authority at that small niche and it feels very good to grow this much at 21. Thanks for existing. You helped me a lot, right? So it's about, taking action, moving forward and trying to, get shit done and adapt and be flexible as time goes on. And Superb Cutter says, am I late? Did I miss something? You're about an hour late. You missed essentially the whole thing, but luckily it's recorded. So when I stop in just a minute here, you can rewind and watch the whole thing again. It was very good. Amit says, you literally started watching your YouTube about 1,400 articles in 15 months and saw that I'm live. Oh, cool. Awesome. Very cool. Welcome aboard. And Mook says, a small recommendation to everyone, try to be the authority in your niche. I tried in all of my niches and it works best when Google rolls out the update. Oh, wow, there's a lot more in the chat, but we will finish up. Graham says, I have a blog that's 6 months old and it's making $100 a month from Ezoic and Amazon affiliate. Do you think that the first year is too soon to tell if it will do okay? No. And I was going to say, Graham, if you check out some of the videos from Christy, so Christy is someone that I have been interviewing for about 2.5 years or so. So it took her about 4 months to hit her first $100 month. She's been working consistently on her site, and she's making around $7,000 per month right now. So I think you're on the right track. And I mean, it all depends on what you do. One of the big mistakes that I see from people is maybe you get to $1,000 and you're like, well, it looks like I can't do anything else here. And then you start another site. Usually people are nowhere close to what their site can earn. They just stop working on it. They want to start something new, and then they end up in a spot where they have maybe a couple sites and they're splitting their time. Maybe they have like 3 sites and they're all making a few $100s. Most people don't keep pushing on the same site, and you get a much better ROI if you keep working on the same thing, trying to improve it over and over again. And Superb Cutter says, do you look for the search volume of a keyword when you're doing keyword research? The answer is yes, you sure do. All right, I think that's it for today. Thanks everyone for hopping on. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up. It'll help other people find the video. I do live streams usually once a week, although I may be taking a short break because I would like to take a short break coming up. But anyway, subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up. If you have questions or anything like that, you can sign up for my email list, nichesiteproject.com, link in the description. And there, I'll send you emails and then you can just reply back to those, ask me questions. All right, see ya.